Hello, Shoyan here. I'm a carpenter based in Japan. Today, I'm starting the interior work. Since the weather was good, we finished the outside work first, and the interior is still unfinished. After installing the hardware and insulation, I installed cedar planks on the floor, walls, and ceiling. First, I installed the hardware. The sleepers of the shed are one step higher than the foundation. As the joists are also higher, it's a little hard to screw in the hardware. On the top, I installed the hardware to the column and the beam, as well as the column and diagonal braces as usual. This time, the insulation is a 30mm green Styrofoam. Honestly, it's not a high-quality material, but better than the white Styrofoam. It's a 30mm general Styrofoam. It's often used under tatami mats. I cut this insulation and fit it between the studs snugly. I measured the spacing between the studs and cut the Styrofoam. The studs were supposed to be 45mm wide, but were cut to 48mm. So when the studs are screwed, they shifted 3mm to either side. The spacing between the studs differs. Therefore, I first cut the Styrofoam to the width of the wider space, and then install it. After that, I cut and install the Styrofoam according to the narrower space. Though it's hassle, I make sure it fits snugly in each space. Honestly, this Styrofoam was not originally cut precisely at the right angle. Even if two pieces are well fit, gaps can occur in the future, especially around the triangle area. So I apply urethane foam to fill that part. Though I don't think insulation is necessary for a shed, it's better than not having any. Next, I level the joists that I installed the other day. Generally, joist edges are secured to the top of the sill, and the sleepers are leveled with the sill. There is a small gap between the middle sleeper and the joists. But this time, sleepers are installed on the sills. Since the edges of the joist are not on the sill, they can't be used as a level reference, so the height of the perimeter sleepers need to be adjusted in order to level the joists. Now the joists are leveled. I'm going to install the floorboards longitudinally. First, I measure and cut the lengths. Meter and shaku modules are used in Japan. This building is meter module. Generally, the floorboards are at about 4 meters, and other building materials are 3 meters to 4 meters. Solid wood planks usually split about 10 centimeters from the end. So it is not possible to use a whole 4-meter plank. So I decided to space a joist based on 4mm minus 10cm to 15cm floorboards instead of 4 meters. Otherwise, it's not possible to use one piece of long floorboard. It's inevitable that there will be some waste. I'm cutting the floorboards. This shed is about 9 meters long and 2200 millimeters wide. Even though the weather is bad, I pitched a tent outside and cut the floorboards there because I couldn't work in this shed. Despite working as a carpenter for many years, this is my first time cutting floorboards outside. After cutting them under the tent, I carry them inside, one plank at a time. This is hard work. Now, I install the floor. In the first stage, the floorboards need to be installed straightly and thoroughly. The floorboards are not staggered this time. After installing the first board, I use an entire length of the cutoffs for the next row. If I were to name this, I'd call it a messy installation. Joints appear in various places. However, using a piece of plank that only reaches one joist to another is too short, so I use a plank that reaches at least 3 joists. The floorboards can be laid without any waste this way. Carpentry requires the same tools, no matter how big or small the space. The working in a long, narrow space isn't difficult. It requires a lot of movement and hard work. Our job requires many tools, and one of the responsibilities is to protect the installed floorboards and moving the tools around. Now the floor is installed. Next, I install the window frames before building the wall. I use the same cedar planks as a floorboard with hardwood and sapwood. They are simple to install. Cut the frame to size and join 4 sides with a butt joint. Now, I'm installing the window frames. 2 of the frames are the same size. To make the jambs come slightly forward, I tore cardboard from a screw box and set it under the jamb when securing it since it was just right thickness. This way, both sides of the jambs come forward equally. It may look inaccurate, but you can align them pretty neatly. I also installed the front sliding door frame. The head jamb has a single groove because one sliding door panel is fixed. Now, I simply frame the wall. I'm going to secure the planks directly to the columns, so sheathings are not used. There will only be 8 studs on the 4 corners. That's all you need to do to secure the planks. I start measuring and cutting the planks. Unlike the floor, wall planks are neatly staggered, since the wall is visible from the front. If planks are used for a wall, a groove is usually cut on the window frame so the plank can be joined. However, the planks are installed horizontally this time. As the plank's edges are joined with a tongue and groove joint from the top, it's hard to install even if the window frame has grooves. When installing the planks vertically, it is faster to cut the grooves in the window frame. If the wall planks are horizontal, all you need is to measure the height of the window jamb and install the plank neatly. It would be easier to install without grooves. Next, I install the ceiling. 4 exposed beams are installed on the top, so I don't need to join the plank's head, unlike on the wall. I cut the ceiling boards slightly longer. After installing the ceiling board, I install this zinc crown molding on the perimeter. The ceiling is simple to install. It'd be difficult if there were no beams, and you wanted to use a plank as long as the floorboards. You may be able to install the ceiling board, but over time the end-to-end joints would become rough. It's better to have no joints. That is why the beams are intentionally exposed. There are slight differences in the materials used for the floor, walls, and ceiling, but they are all solid cedar planks. They look the same, but they have different methods of installation, uses, and trickiness. I'm looking up while using scaffolding, so the ceiling installation may appear difficult. In reality, the walls were the most difficult, and the ceiling was the easiest this time. To complete the shed, I install baseboards and crown molding. Baseboards and crown moldings are thin wood pieces that hide gaps and rough surfaces. This is the final step in the process. I finished installing the storage shed. Cedar planks are used all around, and it's 2200mm by 9 meters. It turned out to be quite big. Shelves will be installed later after the location is determined. Now, it's completed. That's all for today. Thanks for watching.